I never really noticed how much taller the single rear is compared to the dual. Welcome back to JB Reviews. We're going to be doing a driving test between the dually and single rear wheel. Does the dually have a worse ride, worse fuel economy compared to that 3500 single? Let's find out. I borrowed these trucks from Seiner Chevrolet here in Salt Lake City. Be sure to check out the inventory. They have a lot of trucks here and they're discounting, so it doesn't get any better than that, right? Let's drive the dually first. We're inside the dually, and one thing I could already tell you guys, this is just something that you have to understand. Chevy trucks with the independent front suspension ride better compared to Ram, and I would say Ford too. I could say Ford. I think sometimes the Ford trucks, depending on the tire pressure, it does help a little bit. But depending on the road surfaces, like if you're going on a really bumpy road, you will be reminded that you're driving a dually. But as far as like the powertrains go, as far as the transmission goes, there's no differences between a 3500 single rear wheel and dually. But when you're cruising on the highway, I mean, this truck rides phenomenal. I think that most people would find this truck to be pretty good, pretty good. Now, I'm cruising around 50 miles an hour, and the truck is just slightly over 1,000 RPM. So I'll show you guys what it is when we get up to about 60 and 75 miles an hour too. The steering on this truck too is pretty light, and I think sometimes the only negative to the independent front suspension, I think every truck handles a little different. Most people probably disagree with me on that, but I've driven so many of these trucks. Some of the steering feel on these trucks are pretty tight. I would say it's probably moderate, not tight, but it's pretty moderately tight. And then I've driven some of these trucks where the steering is very loose. And this one is, I would say it's pretty moderate. It's not as tight as I would like it, but it's good enough. Now, when you're trying to keep a dually inside the lane, that is pretty easy. You have these compacts that does help give you a good idea of where the hips are, and that's always nice to have these compacts. I wish they would make them power like Ram does, but yeah, let's go ahead and get up to speed here, and I'll let you guys know. Now, 10-speed transmission. They don't show you what gear you're in. That would be something nice. But once you get up to about 60 miles an hour, we're just under 1,500 RPM, so let's go ahead and get up to 75. About 1,700 RPMs, I would say. About 1,700 RPMs. Not too bad. But yeah, driving this truck is easy for me. Now, I think most people will find this truck to handle and be easy to drive unloaded. Now, obviously, this truck does have a different suspension out back compared to the single rear wheel. And I think that this suspension is just built more towards those extra loads, because you can tell that the overloads are closer to the bump stops for sure. But at 75 miles an hour, the truck feels just like a single rear wheel. The roads here are kind of smooth as well, so that may not be a good comparison. If we were driving in the city, I think that's where this truck would probably flounder compared to the single rear wheel. But we should be to the midpoint here in a second. We've only gone 3.5 miles and 13.3 MPG, so we'll see how everything shakes out in a second here. We just made it to the midpoint, and it looks like the light's gonna catch us, unfortunately. But we're gonna coast up this a little incline here. We're just dropping speed. We're at 15.1 so far, and here we are. 15.4. There it is. Both trucks are going to have the same engine. So this is a Gen 2 L5P Duramax 6.6 liter diesel V8. It's going to have 470 horsepower, 975 pound-feet of torque. All that power goes through a 10-speed transmission, 342 rear end. Here's 0 to 60.
30, 60,
8.7 seconds to 60. That is not bad for a dually. I don't think that the single rear wheel is going to do much better than that. My 0 to 30 was 3.92 seconds. So, you know, that ain't bad. I can't wait to see how it does against the single. I really think that the dualies got a little something extra just because of my black one that I own. That truck was quick, dude. I'm not even lying to you guys. I used to be shocked at how fast I can get that truck moving. And that was after it being obviously broken in and everything too. But for the most part, this truck does ride really good. I know I'm kind of a bad person to ask because I just don't really notice a big difference between these trucks. Like the Ram trucks definitely are the stiffer ones, but I can't really tell the difference. So I'm glad I'm driving these trucks back to back. They're both LTZs, they're both 3500s, as I said. So the good news is, if I do notice a difference, I'll let you guys know, but I don't think there's gonna be a difference with these trucks on the highway.
Here are the numbers on the door. The payload is gonna be 5,252 pounds, and this truck does weigh 8,748 pounds on the curb.
Just pull back in. And you guys will see right here, 15.1 MPGs, 15.5 miles driven. Let's see how the single rear wheel does. Now we're driving the single rear wheel. I already reset the trip one, and as I said, guys, I just drove around a parking lot. I went the same route to get onto the highway. I don't notice a big difference between these trucks, guys. Like, I really don't. I think that maybe the dually is a little bit stiffer if you go over speed bumps. I think speed bumps is the only bad part. That's it. But apart from that, they ride about the same. And this truck does have a shorter wheelbase too, right? So the single rear wheel is not going to have the longer wheelbase because it's not a long bed. And I did that on purpose too, by the way. I decided to go with a single rear wheel standard bed versus a long bed because I think most people who are cross-shopping the dually might be preferring the shorter bed. That's just my theory here. So with that being said, even with the shorter wheelbase, no difference. Now both trucks ride on Michelin tires, and Michelin tires are some of the best. I think they are pretty soft, but they have stiff enough sidewalls for towing. And I don't notice a big difference in road noise either. I'm going about 60 miles an hour here. But they both have 342 rear ends, and as you guys heard, they both have the same Duramax 10-speed Allison. The only differences really are the suspension out back and probably the front on the single rear wheel 3500. This truck has a different axle rating, which you guys will see here. Now you can get a camper package. Actually, I did not check to see if the truck had a camper package, so it could be the same actually. I haven't looked at that yet, but yeah, apart from that, this 3500 rides, it feels like it rides smoother. I can tell a difference there. It does feel smoother at 60 miles an hour. As far as the RPMs go, no change. They were just under 1500 RPMs right there. Let's get up to 75. It's a little bit of traffic, as you guys can probably see around me. At 75, I think we're running in 10th gear right now too with the acceleration. It looks like it might be lower on this truck actually. It looks like we're like at like 1600 RPMs. Interesting. I mean, both trucks have a 342. That's what it says online, obviously, and that's what I've been told. But yeah, it looks like on the single rear wheel, I'm gonna take a video of this so I can compare when I get home. But it looks like 75 miles an hour is lower than the dually is. So who knows, maybe they haven't told us. Maybe there is lower gearing on that dually. Maybe they just haven't told us. Very possible, you know, the manufacturer can do whatever they want to do, right? But yeah, this truck is definitely smoother. I think when you consider less tires back there, on a smooth road, it's even smoother. On the dually, there was a little bit of bumpiness to it, but once you put a load on both of these trucks, you won't be able to tell the difference. But yeah, I definitely like the single rear wheel better for the ride, for sure. There's no difference there, obviously, right? And the fuel economy, well, I mean, it looks like we're already a little bit better than the dually is, so that's gonna probably be a big factor for some people too. I mean, you're gonna burn more fuel. I mean, you have more drag on the truck, right? So more drag is gonna create less fuel economy. And yeah, keeping this in the lane is the same for me as the dually, and there's no difference there. And the noise inside the interior is about the same, I would say. I don't really notice the difference, but yeah, the ride is smoother for sure. It's not a big difference between the stiffness. I think they're about the same, but the smoothness is where I could see a big difference. Exit 11. And same situation, the light is red. But yeah, we are definitely higher than a dually, as you would have expected. Now, I can't wait to see the 0 to 60. That's what I want to see. So 17.3 compared to, what was it, like 14 or 14? I can't remember. I'll show it to you here because I can't remember now. But yeah, this truck wins. No surprise there whatsoever. Let's go ahead and check out the performance. Here we go. I'm a little shocked. This truck had no lag. Like, I was really shocked by how fast it spooled up. Normally with the trucks with the low miles, they don't normally do that great, but this truck beat it easily. 0 to 30 was 3.4, 7.99, 0 to 60. That is really good. Really, really good actually. And remember, I am higher above elevation, so about 5,000 feet. And they say you lose about 3% every 1,000 feet you go up. Even with the turbocharged engines, they do get affected by that. So we should be back soon. And yeah, we are at 15.7, so we lost a little bit on that launch there, but it's okay. It's okay.
Here are the numbers for the single rear wheel. That payload is going to be 3,826 pounds. Curb weight is 8,274 pounds. And here are the RPM comparisons, both at 75 miles an hour. The dually's on the bottom.
Just pulled back in, and as you would expect, 16.9 MPGs, 15.6 miles driven. As you would have expected, this truck won. Something I didn't mention to you guys when I owned my dually was they do use more DEF. And that's before my 37s too. I wound up having to put DEF in my truck around 2,000 miles, and I was shocked by that. Now, if you're looking to buy a big trailer, if you didn't watch my last video I did comparing this one to this long bed 3500 single rear wheel, big trailers require big trucks, and I think you have to understand that when you're looking at duallies. I think GM could do a better job when it comes down to giving you more packages for the appearance. Most guys today want a sporty looking truck, and I think that on the LTZ model, it just doesn't really give you what you're looking for. So if you're looking for something like this, for example, that is a nice Silverado LTZ. You have the sport appearance package, the Z71 sport appearance package on that one, and they should do something similar to that on the dually. I think that more guys would buy the truck too, personally. But I hope you guys like the video. I bet you at 1,000 miles, that dually would win at 60 miles an hour. I really do think that they hold these trucks back just a little bit, and they could actually have lower gearing out back. Maybe they don't talk about it, but when I saw the RPMs, and maybe I'll show you guys at some point in this video, but the difference between the two was pretty shocking to me. But be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so yet. Like the video if you haven't. See you guys soon.